Craig, we're dealing with some more technical wizardry thanks to our wonderful internet connection here in the office. So give us a couple of minutes and we will be ready to go.
All right. Just let us know when you're ready. It sounds good.
Will do. Thanks.
Oh, we are. Craig, can you hear us? Appear to be.
Can I shut this?
Yeah, thank you.
You can shut that one too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Test, test. Craig, can you hear us?
Oh, I guess we gotta shut these. Yours muted. We'll be shortly.
I just want to sit down a little early. What happens then?
Craig, can you hear us now?
That's better, Dan.
Okay.
It still is there's a nasty echo there for a second.
Yeah, I think we got it figured out now.
Should be good.
Go ahead. I think we're good to go.
Okay, all right. I want to take a moment here to welcome everyone to the July 22nd special meeting of the Board of Directors. We're going to begin by taking roll. See if we have a quorum present. Board members, please respond by unmuting. And also would ask those in attendance to stay muted unless you recognize to help us with running Mr. Zoom. Dan Aker. Barry Dan? Oh, it's all Barry.
I see him there. His audio is not working at the moment.
Probably not. Just give me a thumbs up, Barry, if you can hear me. Thank you. Mark Murphy. Here.
Yeah, just
Gary Rasmussen.
basically muted.
Here. Randy Soma? Michael Talley?
I am here.
Marty Weisman? All right. We're going to, at this time, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we unmuted? Yes. I would just remind the board, when you're speaking or when you make a motion or a second, please state your name first for the record.
All right, so moving on to the agenda. At this time, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Rasmussen.
Okay, motion by Gary, and second by Mark Murphy.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, that motion carried. John, are you our host here running the mutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you have anybody in the chat that has requested to speak during public forum, but now would be the time for those people in attendance.
You are good to go, Craig.
All right, having nobody for a public forum, moving on to item 3, which is probably one of the main reasons we're here. And this is the consideration of the Fall Sports Activity Task Force recommendations. All board members, you should have had this sent to you, and I'm sure you've studied it and looked at it. I wanted, before we take any action on it, I want to thank everybody that was involved. And special thanks to those members in our staff in the office and the work they've done on that. Has everybody had a chance to look this over?
Yes.
Hearing,
Yes.
hearing nobody saying that they haven't. At this time, is there a motion to adopt these?
So moved, Aker.
Motion by Aker, a second?
Tally, second.
Tally seconds. All right. Discussion.
Craig, do you want me to run through it quickly, or are we just moving forward with the board having reviewed it?
The board's reviewed it, Dan, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to turn it over to you to pull out any items that maybe, I know we got the updated version, but just for explanation for anything that is pressing or might have changed over the last 72 hours.
Yeah, the biggest change that I first want to start, and I want to thank Dr. Cowles, Dr. Valentine, Paul Richter and Trig Odney, and then Dr. Jones from the Department of Ed, Linda from the Department of Health, and then everybody else that was involved in this task force. I appreciate it greatly. They put a lot of time into it with us, and we're very thankful for their help with it. In terms of the changes, the main change has been on principle number 4. The CDC changed their recommendation for positive cases the other day. It had been a 10-day sit plus 72 hours or 3 days fever-free without the use of fever-reducing medications. The other day, they changed that to 10 days from the onset of symptoms and fever-free for 24 hours. So it was a 10 plus 3. Now it's a 10 plus 1. The other change is that they added a category of 20 days plus 1 day fever-free without the use of medications for people who were severely or critically ill, those who were hospitalized, and those who are severely immunocompromised. So that was added there in principle number 4, and then it was also added, John, if you scroll down to the return to play sheet. We also added that to the return to play form in Appendix C. And one clarification here, when an individual goes to get this filled out, the doctor essentially has 3 choices there in the middle of the form. They can either clear the participant as is, they can also recommend that they participate in that graduated return to play progression that you see down below, which would be an additional 6-day progression to return to activities, and that again would be for those who were severely ill, those with who have cardiac issues as noted above. That's not for everybody. Someone who is asymptomatic likely would not be recommended to complete this additional 6 days. That's at the doctor's discretion due to the situation that the individual was in, and they can recommend those additional 6-day graduated return to play progression. So up above there under the criteria return, I did change that. The 10 days have passed. The second one is adding that 20 days have passed. And then the third bullet point changed from 72 hours to 24 hours. There's still a few little small wording clarification changes that I'm working with Dr. Valentine.
You're not coming through.
How about now?
Now you are.
Okay. There's still a few small tweaks that might be made to verbiage on this. I'm working through it with Dr. Valentine, Dr. Cowles, Trigg, and Paul, just from a medical provider's perspective to ensure that this is as clear as can be for the medical providers and to keep that clear for everyone involved. But the overall intent of the form will remain the same. It would just be some clarifying language. The intent is that anyone who has a positive test has to get this filled out, and then the doctor can either clear them immediately, clear them with the graduated return to play progression, or cannot clear them. Other than that, there have been no changes other than from what has been sent out. I'll take that back. There were a few clarifications on our rules modifications. Some items in the mandatory where the verbiage had said shall, we changed those to be a shall or a will, so that it matches the mandatory language.
Not allowing us to interrupt.
No.
I didn't catch that, Craig.
Yeah, we
Maybe go back to Aaron's office and then to them off my cell phone real quick. Or off, just his or off or something, just not in the building. Must have been good feedback.
hear me?
We can. I'm going to try something quickly.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna be on hold. You guys let us know.
How much of that one? Is it wrong?
Okay, can you all hear me now? I moved back to my office, maybe this would work better. The issue that I'd gone through, but it was essentially that clarification for the 10+1, or the 10+3 to the 10+.
This is some of the task force recommendations right now, isn't it? Yes. So, thank you.
Okay, we'll try this again.
Okay, so it's the in-house.
One. And then some small changes in verbiage on the sport rule modification proposals from should to shall or will. It's just to reflect that they're
If
mandatory.
you want to get in on it, it might be better to just go grab your cell phone and run it that way. Because this
All right.
keep happening
Anybody have any questions?
in building internet.
We get a little background, just the discussion that took place on principle number 7, guidance on fan attendance.
Right now is get on your cell phone and get off of our.
I just know I've been contacted quite a bit in that I've had anything from don't set any parameters, let us decide locally, to some people saying we should go to no fans right away. I'm not looking to change what's there, but I thought it might be good just to hear a little bit of what the discussion was in regards to that from the task force. Is that possible, Dan?
Yes. This is, schools need to know that this is not a requirement. Anything on number 7, none of those are requirements. And to put something in place that works for an entire state when situations are different across the entire state is pretty difficult to do. We heard from some schools who wanted some guidance on this, particularly on fan attendance. So we put an example out there, and our main point was that schools should develop some sort of a tiered system or some sort of system so that they have some conditions or some parameters and that they can reference and take some of the emotion out of it when they're looking at going from open attendance to no fans. So we put an example out there. Some may use that, some may not. Some might do it like we did for the summer contact, where they started at phase 1 and they progress through, where they start with a smaller fan base and then they move into higher attendance as the fall progresses and things are going well within their community. Some may start with open attendance and move the other way from it if things change. We just wanted to put an example out there that schools could use if they wanted, but they should look at the situation in their own communities and make those decisions based on that.
Dan, have you heard of any conferences making agreements among themselves on this issue?
I've heard of several conferences who are planning on it. I haven't heard any who have made those final determinations yet, but several, I believe, are going to get together and develop consistent attendance policies across their conference.
This is Randy. Just to make a couple comments on that. We've discussed it numerous times in our conference as well as AA schools, and there's not a consensus really. It's up to individual schools. I think it's going to come down to communicating effectively with those schools that are coming in. If we have a certain rule where some schools are going to have to wear masks when they come in, same with their spectators, different things like that. We just have to make sure we're communicating those things if we're going to move forward with this.
And having sat on that task force as well, another item that was discussed, and I'm directing this to Jerry because it was his initial question, but I'm sure there's lots of you out there that are wondering about fan attendance. Working with the Department of Health, knowing that we have multiple districts and schools in a single county, it's going to be real difficult, especially, I'll use for example, if I'm in Hutchinson County and you've got Freeman, Parkston, Menno, and Tripp, and the county is being grouped together, you might have two different community situations there between Menno and Parkston, but they'd be thrown in together in the same county. And we all know that the testing timeline is probably going to be strained and lengthened as well. So I believe the idea behind the task force was to give some guidance, but not a black and white across the state.
That's right, Craig. And our understanding is that the Department of Health and Department of Ed are working on being able to present school district level reports rather than county level reports, because we've got districts that span across multiple counties, and that will help with that.
But that's not in place right now, correct? Yeah.
Not to my knowledge. The hope is, I think they're shooting for August 1st for a lot of these. The other thing I wanted to hit on here was, and this is something we really want to push, is we're very strongly recommending assigned seating on the buses and mask use on the buses. And that is so that if you get home from a contest and find out the next day that someone had tested positive, for contact tracing, it makes it much, much simpler if you've got your assigned seats and you know who all was around there. And it sounds like if everyone on the bus is masked, you may end up with fewer confirmed close contacts if everyone is wearing masks on the bus, and I think that will help tremendously. So we really want to stress that, and we really want to strongly recommend the schools do that.
I know there's a question in the chat about locker rooms, cleaning, size of locker rooms, sharing locker rooms. I don't know if I was present for every minute of the task force meetings. I don't recall locker rooms being discussed in detail. Randy, let's see, Mr. Murphy, anyone else that was present at those, you guys remember anything about that? Dan Aker?
We did not discuss locker rooms within the task force committee. We did put out guidance on that for our summer activities. We can put some further guidance out regarding that from us and from the Department of Health in terms of people visiting locker rooms and cleaning the locker rooms and those type of issues. And send that to the schools along with this as well.
And at the risk of oversimplifying a lot of this document, I think communication, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be key between those participating schools before an event, so that administration, athletic directors, coaches, just keep everybody in the know. I know that's not going to solve every problem, but I think we need to, as a host school, reach out to that visiting school and let them know what's going on.
That's absolutely correct. That's going to be a huge part of success for this fall is communication between athletic directors, communication between administrations, so that everyone's on the same page.
Any other questions for Dan in the office or from any of the board members?
on the issue of locker rooms, I spoke with Gene Brownell, and he was talking about sort of creating, what would you call a bubble around your players and not allowing them to interact with fans after a game and prior to getting on a bus, and just keeping them secluded so the locker room would be just in and out and there wouldn't be any outside people allowed in, that type of thing, which made some sense, I thought.
I think that would be a very good idea.
And Dan, I know we're probably not gonna hash over the whole entire document line by line. There was a question pertaining to a no contest versus a forfeit. Do you want to maybe expand a little bit on that?
Yep. Essentially, if one of the schools switches to an online-only model due to an outbreak of cases within their school, the contests that were supposed to be played during that time would be considered no contest. If School A decides on their own, we don't want to go play at School B, but School B is still in session, there's not a big outbreak, the Department of Health has not recommended that they shut down, it's a choice by the school not to go play that contest, that would be a forfeit. Having said that, there is some gray area in there as to where our office would be mediating a lot of those conversations and helping out with those decisions. There are circumstances where school may not be shut down yet, but they're in the process of evaluating spread within their school, and it might be a conversation where both schools say, yeah, it's probably a good idea to push this back and try to reschedule it, and if it can't be rescheduled, then that might be some time where it would be a no contest. But in general, if school is in session and if the school has not been shut down due to a spread of cases, the expectation is going to be that the game will be played, and if there's a choice made by one team or the other not to play that game, then it would likely be a forfeit.
Thank you.
And just to note for the schools, we are planning on a conference call tomorrow with the schools, a question and answer session to go through this more in depth and to answer some more of the questions that you have. I'm more than happy to continue answering questions about it at this time for the board and for you to make your decision on how you'll vote. But if this were to pass, we are planning on a Zoom meeting tomorrow, a Q&A session with our school.
Thanks for doing that too, guys. I think that's going to be very helpful. Any other questions or points of clarification from any board members? Okay, if not, we have a motion and a second to adopt these. We're going to do a roll call vote. Dan Aker.
Yes.
Barry Mann. Thumbs up? That's a yes. Mark Murphy.
Yes.
Jerry Rasmussen.
Yes.
Randy Soma.
Yes.
Mike Talley.
Yes.
Marty Weismantel.
Yes.
And Craig Cassins, yes. That motion carries. I'll pull up my agenda here. I've got a few screens open.
While you're doing that, I'll make a quick note here. There was a question about travel East River to West River. We haven't talked about, travel East River to West River or hotel stays. That would likely be a local decision as well. Once it gets to the postseason, then there will be some further guidance put out by us in regards to that, dependent on the venue, dependent on the event itself. But in terms of us recommending no travel East River to West River or things like that, we won't be putting anything like that out. I will add that I'm continuing to work with our Native American schools and our reservations to visit about both their participation this fall, and then to talk with them on travel from one side of the reservation to the other, for teams that have to go through, and we're continuing to work through that, and we will put guidance out on that as we get answers to those questions.
Sounds great. Okay, item number 4, consider contract for Ryan Michelson as the new SDHSAA Finance Director. Dan, do I need to read that entire contract or not?
No, it's an executive level position that will stay. The salary is similar to what Isaac had been making. Ryan is a recent graduate of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln with a business degree, and will do a great job for us.
Good to hear. Entertain a motion to approve Ryan Michelson as the Finance Director.
Randy Soma, so move.
Is there a second?
Wiseman, second.
All right, roll call vote. Aker.
Yes.
Mann. Murphy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Soma.
Yes.
Talley.
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
And Cassens, yes. Congratulations, Ryan. Welcome aboard. Moving on to item 5, consider request from Sturgis Brown High School for early practice start date in football, volleyball, cross country due to the rally. I'll turn this over to Dr. Swartos.
Yeah, this was a request we received from Sturgis. They, with football starting a bit earlier this year, they're going to run into issues with the rally. Cross country and volleyball are a little bit different story because they start at the end of that week, and they don't have the heat acclimatization period that's required for football, and there's more time before their first contest. So our recommendation as a staff would be to approve this request for football, but not for volleyball and cross country. And again, due to the differences in start dates between those sports and the heat acclimatization protocol that we have in place for football.
All right, thank you. Motion to approve for football only.
Motion.
Okay, Rasmussen.
Tally can second that.
Tally second. Roll call vote, Dan Aker.
Can I ask?
Oh, I'm sorry, let's have a discussion. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Dan, are they doing the same dates here? Are they all going, both schools gonna, are we just on Sturgis right now? We're just on Sturgis.
We're just on Sturgis right now.
Okay. That's all the question I had, Greg.
Okay, I was moving a little fast on that anyway, Dan, so I'm glad you called that. Any other discussion on that item 4? Hearing none, let's go to the roll call vote now. Mr. Aker.
Yes.
Barry Mann. Mark Murphy.
Yes.
Jerry Rasmussen.
Yes.
Randy Soma.
Yes.
Michael Talley.
Yes.
Marty Wiseman.
Yes.
And Craig Cassens, yes. That passes. Item 6 is going to be a similar situation. This will be just for football for Spearfish. So consider request from Spearfish High School for an early practice start date in football during the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Dan, I don't know if you need to add anything to that, but the floor is yours there.
Well,
Yeah, we would recommend.
I'm sorry, Dan Swartos first.
Yeah. We would recommend approval of this, and we would provide them with the same guidance in terms of their practice days and their off days so that they're both doing the same thing.
which essentially answers my question, just so it's documented what days they can go and what they're not. That's what you're gonna do, Dr. Swartos?
Correct. They'll have the same conditions for both schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
Wiseman will move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second. Tally.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, so we got a motion by Wiseman, a second by Tally. Roll call vote. Dan Aker.
Yes.
Mary Mann? That's a yes. Mark Murphy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Soma?
Yes.
Tally?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
And Castles is a yes. Passes unanimously. Item 7 is a co-op sponsorship of activities. And the schools involved are Andy Central, Dakota Christian, Platte Geddes, in the sport of competition cheer and dance, effective for the 2021 school year. Dr. Swartos, this is pretty boilerplate, I assume, not a whole lot to this one?
Correct. We recommend approval.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion by Murphy.
And a second?
Aker will second.
All right, motion by Murphy, second by Aker. Roll call vote. Dan Aker.
Yes.
Mary Mann? That's a yes. Mark Murphy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Soma?
Yes.
Tally?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
And Castles is yes. All right, not the way I envisioned my first meeting as board chair being done via Zoom, but I want to thank everybody who attended and everybody's patience in this time. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Aker.
And a second? Second by Wiseman. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody.